It's rush, rush, rush. There's different routes. There's long routes, there's short routes. Some of the short routes are high pressure work. You're up, you're descending, you're landing, and you're quick turnaround 25 minutes. So it's all go, go, go.
There's going to be a crash. They're lowering the levels of safety and the margins. They're accelerating the time to that crash.
Well, we have a split roster shift. It's basically 5 early shifts, then 2 days off, 5 late shifts, and then 3 days off. On the early shifts, you'd be reporting for work any time from between just before 5 in the morning and maybe 8 o'clock in the morning. And if you're on what's known as a 6-sector day, it's basically 3 return flights, most likely to the UK. When I come back, I'm most likely very tired. I find I can only do things just automatically. I have no capacity to think outside my normal routine. It's a 5-day week, so I probably do it all over again the next day. Then after day 5, I have my 2 days off, and I find the first day off I just spend just in a daze, and 2 days later I'm back to work for the late shift.
The earlies are starting earlier and earlier, so you could be checking in around 5 or just after 5 o'clock in the morning and operating in some cases up to 9 hours a day. And the efficiency of the turnaround and trying to attain that turnaround of 25 minutes means effectively that you have no break at all for those 9 hours.
You just find yourself making mistakes and forgetting stuff, like, it mightn't be anything serious or important, but you say on both crews, both pilots are pretty tired, and it's just human nature, you just forget things.
What happens is you start missing checks. That's usually the first sign of it. And it does put people into situations where they do question themselves as to whether they should be flying.
Pilots also complain that the 45 minutes allowed to prepare for a day's flying is not enough.
Straight away, 10 minutes of that 45 is spent travelling from the office to the aeroplane. We have to do the paperwork. You have the flight plan for each flight, which has to be checked, the weather for each flight. You have to decide how much fuel you need for the first one, order the fuel, get the necessary navigation plates and the charts we use. While on a 6-sector day, ideally you would need at least 30 minutes to do it. We have about 10. And quite a lot of the places we are going to now, Ryanair is the only airline that will fly into them, so you're not familiar with them and you're relying on having a quick look at the flight plan. It could be the first time you're there. You get no extra time if you've never been to an airport before. We don't get lunch breaks. Once you get on the plane in the morning, you've got to stay on the plane to the end. In the past, on one of the turnarounds, you could plan on running into the terminal and getting a sandwich. You can't do that anymore. We have to supervise the fueling. It's very hard to stay awake. I've never fallen asleep, but I've come close. But I've been with people who have fallen asleep, especially on the longer flights.
You have to have the human input, and if you do something wrong, the aeroplane is not going to forgive you.
Well, the reason I've chosen to speak out is because I'm very concerned that there's going to be an incident and that something will have to be done.